Chicago Bears are heading into Week 2 with their backs already flirting with the wall. After a gut-wrenching collapse against the Minnesota Vikings in the season opener, the mission now is crystal clear: beat the Detroit Lions, get back to 50% and reset the tone for the season. It's a high-stakes divisional matchup, and the urgency couldn't be higher. We're not sounding the panic alarms just yet, but if the Bears don't deliver on Sunday, things could snowball quickly. Starting 0-2 in the NFL isn't just a stat. It's a historically bad omen for any team with playoff aspirations. So let's dive into this matchup. The Lions come into the game as a solid 5.5-point favorite, and when you look at how both teams open the season, it's not hard to see why. The Bears let one slip away in painful fashion. They had the Vikings on the ropes, in position multiple times to go up by 3 scores, and they just couldn't put the game away. Whether it was conservative play calling, missed opportunities, or just lacking that killer instinct, the Bears let it unravel late and paid the price. That fourth quarter? A disaster. J.J. McCarthy and the Vikings walked out of Soldier Field with a win that should have never been theirs. Meanwhile, the Lions got punched in the mouth early and never recovered against Green Bay. It was 20-6 with 2 minutes left before a meaningless garbage time touchdown. That final score doesn't reflect how one-sided that game truly was. Detroit's offense, without Ben Johnson calling the shots, looked off-rhythm, predictable, and uninspired. For a team that won Quinn's games last season and made it all the way to the NFC Championship, that opener was a massive red flag. Still, let's not pretend the Lions are suddenly pushovers. They've got talent all over the field, a passionate head coach in Dan Campbell, and a home field that's become one of the loudest in the league. But maybe, just maybe, the Bears are catching them at the right time. Detroit is still adjusting to new coordinators on both sides of the ball. Their offense hasn't found its identity post-Ben Johnson, and their defense showed cracks last week. If Chicago can come in with urgency, discipline, and a bit of fire, this game could turn into a statement win, the kind that reestablishes belief in the locker room and among the fan base. But to pull that off, the Bears will need to clean up quite a few things. Let's start with the injury front. Kyler Gordon and Grady Jarrett didn't practice this week. That's concerning, especially considering how valuable Gordon is in the slot. Roscoe Johnson, dealing with a foot injury, was limited, and having him back would be huge for a backfield that struggled to get anything going last week. DJ Walker and TJ Edwards were both limited with injuries of their own. Edwards in particular would be a major loss. He's the kind of player who brings stability to a linebacker core that already has question marks in coverage. Josh Blackwell might be thrust into a bigger role if Gordon can't go, and Jalen Johnson said he expects to play, which is encouraging. DJ Moore is good to go, and thank goodness for that, because if the Bears have any hope of matching Detroit's score for a score, Moore has to be heavily involved. On the other side, the Lions have injury questions too. All eyes are on Taylor Decker. He hasn't practiced all week due to a shoulder injury, but Detroit's coaches insist they expect him to play. That may be more optimism than reality, though. And if he's out or even limited, that's a huge opening for the Bears' defensive front. Rookie Jack Campbell, who missed practice on Wednesday, was back in full on Thursday and looks ready to go. So does Terrion Arnold. The Lions, for the most part, are healthier than the Bears, but that offensive line could be vulnerable again, and Chicago needs to exploit it. One storyline that's flying under the radar nationally, but is very real inside Ford Field, the Ben Johnson revenge game. He was courted heavily by the Bears during the offseason before ultimately staying in the division, just not in Detroit. And that decision has left a mark. Amon-Ra St. Brown already made it clear. The Lions' locker room plans to boo Johnson the second he steps onto the field. Dan Campbell has said all the right things publicly, but it's not hard to imagine a little extra motivation bubbling underneath. Johnson chose the Bears. He wanted to stay in the NFC North and go head-to-head with the Lions twice a year. He wanted this challenge, and now he gets it, in one of the most hostile road environments in the league. To say Ford Field will be rocking is an understatement. That dome traps noise like a jet engine, and if the Bears aren't locked in mentally, it'll turn into chaos fast. But Chicago can silence the crowd. It starts with better execution, especially offensively. Last week, The Bears' run game was dead last in the NFL in success rate. DeAndre Swift had nowhere to go. The offensive line failed to get any consistent push. And when the ground game sputtered, it left rookie quarterback Caleb Williams in obvious passing situations far too often. That's not a recipe for success. Not for a young quarterback still adjusting to the speed of the NFL and the complexity of pro defenses. Williams started hot, 10 for 10, but completely unraveled afterward, finishing 11 for 25. That kind of drop-off mid-game is alarming. The accuracy concerns? Very real. His completion percentage over expected was negative 13.2%, tied with Bryce Young for 31st in the league. Way too many misfires when the pocket was clean. And look, a lot of that is footwork. Both Williams and Ben Johnson acknowledged it this week. The issue is known, but now it has to be fixed. If you can't hit open receivers on third and manageable, like that brutal miss to DJ Moore on 4th and 3, then you're giving away possessions. And against a team like Detroit, you cannot afford to do that. It's not about perfection. Nobody's asking Caleb to turn into Joe Burrow overnight. But there has to be growth, and it has to start now. Aim for 65% completions. That's not unreasonable. That's not elite. That's competent. That's sustainable. And for a team still trying to find its identity on offense, that level of accuracy would go a long way toward establishing rhythm, converting on third down, and, most importantly, finishing drives. And speaking of finishing drives, Chicago has to stay out of its own way. Last week, an absolute disaster in terms of discipline. False starts, motion issues, delay of game penalties, all at the worst possible times. At least 5 pre-snap penalties, maybe cease. That's unacceptable. On the road, with the crowd noise ratcheted up, the Bears are likely to use a silent count. And ironically, that might actually help them. It could simplify things, take away the cadence variables that caused so many problems in Week 1. But even still, the execution needs to be sharper. The mental errors have to disappear. On defense, this game will be won or lost in the trenches. The Lions' offensive line, particularly the interior, was exposed by Green Bay. 20 carries for 44 yards between Gibbs and Montgomery. That's suffocating run defense. And if the Bears want to repeat that formula, guys like Jervin Dexter and Andrew Billings have to win their matchups. The Lions' interior, Glasgow, Mahogany, and Ratlich, is still finding its chemistry. They gave up 9 pressures last week. That's a gift for a Bears defensive line that needs to make a statement. Jared Goff, for all his success, is not a mobile quarterback. He doesn't throw well on the move. If you flush him from the pocket, make him uncomfortable, collapse the interior, then you've got a real shot at forcing mistakes. Because Goff, when he's pressured and forced to improvise, becomes a completely different player, and not in a good way. This matchup isn't just about talent. On paper, the Lions are still the better team. They have a more proven head coach. They have a more established quarterback. They have the deeper running back room. And their special teams, at least based on Week 1, are miles ahead of Chicago's. But games aren't played on paper. They're won with preparation, execution, and sometimes better scheming. And that's where Chicago might have a real edge. Ben Johnson knows this Detroit defense inside and out. He designed many of the plays they're still using. And on defense, Dennis Allen, now running the Bears D, has a chance to expose a Lions offense that looked pedestrian without their former play caller. First-year coordinators are vulnerable early in the season. They're still figuring things out. Chicago has to capitalize, because this game is not just another week. It's a chance to reshape the narrative, to avoid the dreaded 0-2 start, to prove that Week 1 was a fluke, not a forecast, to show that this team is actually ready to contend, not just compete. And that all starts on Sunday, inside a dome that's going to be shaking, with a crowd ready to boo their former offensive coordinator into oblivion. The Bears better come ready, because if they don't, it's going to be a long afternoon in Detroit. The margin for error in this game is razor thin, and the Bears know it. They spent the entire week preaching about cleaning up mistakes, staying locked in, and playing smarter football. That's great to hear, but on Sunday, it's about showing it. because Detroit isn't going to hand them anything. This is a pride game for the Lions. After getting embarrassed by Green Bay, after losing their play caller to a division rival, and after hearing all the noise about being overrated, they're coming into this one with a chip on their shoulder the size of Michigan. Dan Campbell has already made it clear they have to win this game. Not want, not hope. Have to. And that urgency is going to be reflected in how they play. This will be a physical, emotional, high-energy matchup from the first snap. That means the Bears need to match that intensity from the jump. No more slow starts. No more waiting for something to go wrong before flipping the switch. They need to come out with pace, with purpose, and with a sense of confidence that we didn't fully see last week. Because while Chicago had control for stretches against the Vikings, it never felt like they truly believed they were the better team. They didn't close the door. They didn't take the moment. And that kind of indecision can't carry over into week 2. That starts with the offense. The play calling needs to be cleaner, more aggressive, and most importantly, more balanced. Ben Johnson has to trust the run game again, even if it doesn't work early. DeAndre Swift is too talented to finish back-to-back weeks as an afterthought. And if Roscoe Johnson is healthy enough to go, he should be a major part of the game plan. Between the tackles, outside zone, jet sweeps, the Bears have to find ways to manufacture yardage on the ground and keep Caleb Williams out of those 3rd and 8 situations that invite pressure and collapse protection. The offensive line, for what it's worth, wasn't awful last week. They had moments. Darnell Wright looked like the real deal again. But the consistency isn't there yet. The penalties, the blown assignments, the failed communication on stunts, that stuff adds up, especially on the road. And when it comes to Williams, this is one of those moments that separates rookies from future franchise guys. How do you respond to a rough game? How do you bounce back from misses that could have changed the outcome? It's not just about the physical tools, which we all know he has. It's about poise. Can you stay calm when the pocket collapses? Can you take the check down when the deep shot isn't there? Can you move the chains when it's ugly? That's what the Bears need from him on Sunday. Not just highlight plays, not just flashes. They need command. Because if he plays with command, everything else falls into place. DJ Moore gets more involved. The tight ends become threats again. The play action opens up. And suddenly, this offense starts to resemble the vision fans were sold on all offseason. But Williams can't do it alone. The Bears need more from everyone around him. The receivers have to be sharper with their routes. There were way too many timing issues last week, too many moments where Williams expected one thing and the receiver did another. That's growing pains, sure, but it's also correctable. The protection has to hold up, especially on the interior where Detroit is most likely to bring pressure. And the coaching staff has to give Caleb easier looks. Scheme some early completions. Let him get into rhythm with high percentage throws. Because once he settles in, he can be dangerous. We saw it during his 10-for-10 start. It's just about finding a way to extend that rhythm deeper into games. The game plan should be straightforward. Pressure Goff, stop the run, force 3rd and longs, and make Detroit one-dimensional. Because if you let Montgomery and Gibbs start churning out yardage early, that play-action game becomes deadly. And while Goff might not beat you off script, he will carve up a soft zone if he has time and rhythm. The Bears' secondary is good enough to hang, but they need help from the pass rush. It has to be a team effort. Force quick decisions. Disrupt timing. Collapse the pocket. Don't give Goff clean, throwing windows. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Chicago Bears. And don't be shy. Drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Rumors are swirling through the sports world today as whispers of a potential blockbuster move have ignited a frenzy among fans. Marcus Williams, the sensational star known for turning games on their heads, might be heading to the Chicago Bears. The city is already buzzing with excitement, and social media is ablaze with speculation. Sources close to the team suggest that negotiations are underway, though nothing has been officially confirmed. Williams, who has made headlines for his electrifying performances on the field, would bring a new level of intensity to the Bears lineup. Insiders say his arrival could mark a turning point for the franchise, long yearning for a spark capable of propelling them into championship contention. The possibility of him donning the navy and orange has fans imagining highlight reel plays and game-changing moments that could redefine the team's identity. At Hallis Hall, whispers of Williams' impending arrival have staff and players alike sharing cautious optimism. Coaches are reportedly mapping out strategies to fully leverage his unique skill set, while teammates are said to be thrilled at the idea of playing alongside one of the game's brightest talents. The rumor mill even suggests that the Bears might be willing to make bold moves to secure him, signaling a willingness to shake up their roster in pursuit of a winning edge. The city's sports bars and online forums are packed with fervent discussions, with fans debating the potential impact of Williams on both offense and defense. Could this be the season Chicago finally makes a deep playoff run? Analysts are weighing in, suggesting that while the acquisition is far from confirmed, the mere possibility has reignited hope in a fan base hungry for a resurgence. As speculation grows, one thing is clear. The Bears universe is in a state of electric anticipation. Whether the deal goes through or remains a tantalizing what-if, Marcus Williams' name is now synonymous with Chicago dreams of glory, and the excitement shows no signs of slowing down. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Chicago Bears, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.